Today on She Is, Dorothea Robev shares how and why she changed her family's diet after her son was diagnosed with the Autism Spectrum Disorder. Dorothea Robev is a research scientist at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. She is a structural biologist who spends her days investigating the receptor-ligand interaction of proteins involved in neuroguidance and angiogenesis, and other complicated matters such as 3D structures, DNA cloning, and cell culture. Most of all, she is a beautiful person, incredible woman, wife, mom, and a nature lover. Hi guys, Lucia Dragos here from FabSingleMom.com. You're watching She Is. Welcome to the show. My guest today is Dorothea. Dorothea, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Lucia.
Now, you have a 5-year-old son that was diagnosed with Autism Spectrum Disorder. And I know after that, healthy diet became #1 priority, not only for him, but for the entire family. Now, why is that?
Before he was officially diagnosed, we consulted a nutritionist who gave me the basics for the underlying causes in ASD, especially environmental toxins. And I did my own research, and we looked into possible diets like the gluten-free, casein-free diet and carbohydrate diet. But after some testing, we decided that those diets were really restrictive, and they were causing a lot of problems for us in terms of finding his replacement for his favorite foods, which are limited. I also looked into more potential environmental causes for his delay, since we didn't have history of autism in our family. So we opted to get him on a diet that's organic, without any preservatives, colors, dyes. Since he didn't like a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, we opted to get juices that are pasteurized versus chemically preserved. We looked for products that are MSG-free, no GMO, no high fructose corn syrup, no dyes, no preservatives like propionate, which causes hyperactivity even in normal children, and it's used as a preservative for a lot of carbohydrates.
Now, that must be hard. I mean, all the foods, they have some of those ingredients.
Yes, they do. You just have to keep reading labels and identifying products that have just minimal amount of, chemicals in it.
Would you say it's more expensive and it takes toll on your budget, or is it worth it?
It does take toll on your budget. It's definitely a little bit more high-priced, but at the same time, it has become so popular, and it's available in so many stores, which led, to price decrease with time. Also, when it comes to organic, people have to realize that this is not completely pesticides-free. They still use pesticides. They're just more natural. They're found in insects or plants. So they're a little less harsh on the body. At the same time, organic farmers alternate crops, which allows for the crops, for the soil to rejuvenate, and for the crops to be more nutritiously loaded, especially with vitamins and minerals. The modern agricultural methods led to a lot of depletion in the, in minerals and in soil, which led to the food being, less nutritious in those very important supplements. So we have to realize that these days you gotta eat more fruits and vegetables in order to get the same amount of nutrition, vitamins, and supplements as before.
What would be the difference between organic and local? Because after you start healthy lifestyle in your home, I changed it too. Like we started buying more organic.
For you.
Yes, and yes, definitely it's a little bit more expensive, but I think it's worth it. And you're right, there in most of the stores now you can find organic products. Now, what would be the difference between the farmers market products and the organic products?
So the local produce has more time to acquire a lot of minerals and vitamins versus the organic that can be grown out of state. And in great many cases it's picked up unripe, it's put on trucks, planes, and it's apparently less nutritious than even local ones. So when it comes to grass-fed milk and meat, it means that the cows has been allowed to eat their natural food, which is grass, and this way they are able to produce more vitamin D, more vitamin A. That's why the grass-fed milk usually tastes very much like the normal milk.
If it's corn-fed, there's no vitamin D in the corn?
They just cannot produce as much. They produce much less. Also, the same is with butter. The butter that's from corn-fed milk, it's very white, versus the one from grass-fed milk has a natural yellow color, which comes from vitamin A and vitamin D.
Coming up next, how do you manage that?
Because ultimately a child is your ticket to immortality in this material world. So securing its future is basically securing your future.
You're a working mom and I'm a working mom, and I know your son has a lot of therapists, you're always busy with him. How do you manage that, and do you find ways to maintain some sort of a balance?
So for me, the ultimate outlet is being outdoors, being in the nature. This is where I recharge the most. I don't mind being part of his therapies. It actually gives me a great pleasure seeing him succeed, seeing him progress, being happy, being able to achieve a lot of things that he wasn't able before. A lot of people find this more as a burden, and they feel unhappy that they're not spending enough time. I think in this case it would be good for them to focus on the achievements that others do because of their involvement, and be happy for the fact that other people are happy because of the time they're investing in them. Because ultimately a child is your ticket to immortality in this material world. So securing its future, it's basically securing your future and your happiness.
I mentioned you're a working mom and you have a great relation with your boss, I know. Was there any point in time that you had to go and talk to him for more flexibility? Because I see for myself, it's May and I already have used 6 sick days. And I think I have to go and talk to my boss, maybe to more flexibility. Some days I can work from home, but how should we do that?
I have been really blessed to have a personal relationship with my boss through my sister and his wife, and I just could go and explain directly to him, what was happening, and the more time I had to put and be more involved with my son and with his therapies. Apparently, not everybody has this privilege, so a few useful tricks are, of course, work from home if that's a possibility, but before you address this, make a trial run. Do it maybe on your a weekday off and really see that this schedule can work for you and your boss, so you can provide some steady proof to him that it can actually work. Also, be in a good relationship with your co-workers. Be gracious, try to help them as much as you can possibly can.
So they can help you in return when you're not there.
Help you in return. Networking is a great way as well.
I spoke to another mom about networking, and we don't have that time, unfortunately, now that we're moms. So it's hard to do it, but you think in the workplace, maybe networking more?
Not only in workplace, when it comes to raising children, it's more the women in your community, in your neighborhood. maybe moms who are staying-home moms from your son's school that you can network with and sort of, look for a schedule or look for, a helping hand. Or even sometimes I network with moms who, have children on the autism spectrum disorder. They provide a lot of useful information, resources for help, for activities for your children. And just, stay in touch with these people and make sure you return the favors.
Now, it's very hard to ask for help. I mean, I see from myself, and I spoke to a few moms that also have a hard time asking for help, but I think that's a key. Build this support group and try to help each other and ask for help.
Definitely, and don't keep it to yourself. If you are having struggles or problems, sometimes people presume they're not gonna get any understanding from their bosses, and they're surprised once they get it. So just be open and speak up.
Also, women in general, we have tendency to hold it back. We're afraid to speak up to the boss. I see from myself. Sometimes I'm afraid to go and ask him because I think, oh, maybe he'll think I'm not professional or I cannot do my job.
There is still a little bit of a bias going towards women and, their involvement in the family, so that definitely puts a burden, but we have come a long way. I think that, if your boss is appreciative of the services you provide, he would be willing to, be more flexible and help you out.
Now, before we end, I want you to complete the statement referring to yourself. She's
strong and very resourceful these days.
I know you're strong and you are resourceful, so that's why many times I come to you, because you do your research when you give an advice. Well, Dorothy, thank you so much for joining me. Now I want to hear from you. Use the area below for your comments, suggestions, or just to ask a question. And if you like the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and share it with your friends. I'm Lucia Dragos, you're watching She Is. See you next time.